The world we live in is full of comparison and contrast. We see greed and we see generosity. We see anger versus joy. We see fear and courage. And the truth is, we even see broken relationships and we see restored ones. And if we're honest, which is hard sometimes, it's not what we see out there only in culture. It's not just in the world around us. If we're honest, we see it in our own personal lives. We feel it in here. We feel it inside our own four walls. You guys, welcome back to the Kingdom Family Movement podcast. I'm your host, Sam Velasquez, and I'm super excited to bring you a simple KFM weekly reset where I'm going to give you one principle, one practice, and one movement to help break through this week's episode, which is going to go over separation, which I absolutely love. I'm having a paradigm shift about this, and it's blowing my mind. So I'm excited to get into it with you. And ultimately, so we can walk away feeling more aligned in our heart, strengthening our marriage, our families, and our homes. And not only that, not just be strengthened, but actually be able to walk some of these things out so we can live a more vibrant life, right? In so many different ways, we can live in the way that God intends us to. And so I want to just get right into it because we are really living in what is a battle of separation. And at first glance, it seems simple. We want to make it just a matter of right versus wrong, or maybe good versus evil. And I'm not saying those things don't exist in a linear sense, but if we've lived long enough, right, you and I know it's not just always that clean or simple because we experience it. One moment, right? I don't know about you, but have you ever felt peace and then all of a sudden the next moment you're anxious, or maybe in one moment you're able to practice patience very well and the next you feel reactive? No, just me, because we're human, right? One day you're thinking with clarity and you have a clear vision of everything that's in front of you, and the next moment you feel overwhelmed and maybe it feels heavy. So what's happening, right? Why is this going on? And it comes down to one word, and it's separation. And this is so important for us to understand. And I didn't put it this way, but I took it because I thought this is a simple way to look at this. Because what is separation? Separation is simply, it's the act of disconnecting from what is true or from what is good and or life-giving. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be disconnected from what is true or good or life-giving. That sounds miserable, but that's exactly what separation is. Think about it. Sin at the root level just means to separate. Why is it that God would then tell us that He is the vine, we are the branches, and apart from Him, if we are disconnected from Him, then we are disconnecting from what is ultimately not just true, but the truth, what is good and life giving. I love what Jamie Winship says about this. He's the one who brought this to my attention. If you're not familiar with him, go look him up. I don't know about you. My person, man, I could go on a rabbit trail for hours and hours. I love what Jamie Winship, what the Lord uses him to do and bring to the table. But check him out. You can go look him up on YouTube. And him and his wife run an amazing ministry. Their story is incredible. But here's what he said, and it's very powerful. And he put it this way. He said, "Fear is always rooted in a lie you believe to be true." Think about that for a minute. Let that just sit for a second. I'll say it again. Fear is always rooted in a lie you or I believe to be true. That means if I'm believing a lie, it's because I'm afraid of something that is not true. That's wild. And I thought about this for a second, and I thought maybe even a step further that is super hard to admit, but in just full transparency, vulnerability, and honesty. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but in my own life, there's been times where I want the lie to be true because then it justifies why I'm afraid. That's super sad. But I'm human and I'm sharing that because I think others have done that too. But here's the deal. Fear in and of itself, it's not random, right? anxiousness or anxiety, it's not random. Frustration is not random. It's often connected to a belief, right? It's connected to a thought, an experience, a narrative we've created in our own minds. And when that narrative or when that belief is not aligned with truth, it creates separation, right? We disconnect, not from reality necessarily, but we disconnect from what is ultimately true, good, and life giving. So, how do we practice this, right? What is or better yet, like what would be a practical example? And I was thinking about this, and I had one example, but then before recording this, to be quite honest, a much better one came about in my life that I did not ask for. But I thought this is so exactly what separation looks like and does. And so if we're to bring this into kind of like a real life scenario, it could be so many different things. For an example, that's not my own story, but for you, it could just be getting home and something is said or something is done and it's small, it's a trigger, right? So for me, my wife came to me and was explaining an email had been sent to us, and she basically was asking for me to review it. She wanted me to review it so we could know how to respond. But how she presented it created just this smallest little like, and it, we say triggered us, or it made me feel something, right? That I was just like, how you're saying that is not, and it caused me to start to believe then the lie for a split second, like, oh, she doesn't understand. She does, right? I'm playing that game of mine. But thankfully, by the grace of God, I recognized it, right? So the all of a sudden moment of frustration of being triggered of how she's presenting the smallest of things in email. But this is how it happens. So I think it's very relevant and humbling to maybe share this a little bit, but it didn't last long. But I realized in the moment, oh my gosh, I'm completely disconnecting from what is true because I'm focused on how I feel based upon what I think it is she's saying. Now, here's the crazy thing. Even though I caught it, it helped us discover that even in the moment while she was presenting it, she's believing her own lie. So she's disconnecting while she's sharing it. This is fascinating to me. And maybe you're like, wow, Sam, welcome to catching up to the rest of us. But I don't think that a lot of us are there, to be honest. I think we gloss over this. We do not recognize how quickly we separate in a moment. Okay. But here's the thing. What if it's not actually the moment? What if underneath that reaction is a lie, right? Now, this doesn't correlate exactly to what I shared with you in the real story I just had with my wife, but maybe the lie sounds something like, I'm not respected. He or she doesn't respect me or love me. I'm failing. I'm alone in this. I always got to figure this out by myself. I have to carry everything. Nobody ever understands me. And the moment you believe that, boom, I separate, you separate, we separate from truth. It happens quick, right? So, what is truth versus separation? How do we recognize the difference, right? Well, because we know truth says that I am not alone. You're not alone. God is with us. He never leaves us, He never forsakes us. He is always with us, no matter what, no matter where we go, no matter what we're thinking. He never leaves us. I'm called. I'm not forsaken. I'm not abandoned. Right? I have everything I need. I am equipped. I lack nothing. Because of God, I have everything I need. Because of Jesus and his work on the cross, I have everything I need. But when we believe something else, boom, we drift. We start to just entertain that lie and we see it as true. And it's not. I guess that is somewhat it's deception. And so we drift and that drift shows up in so many different areas of our lives. It could be relational, could be marriage, it could be parenting, it could be in the four walls for sure. I think it happens all too often. And thank God we have it because it's a great place to practice. But it happens in leadership, it happens in a classroom, it happens in our spiritual life, in our personal walks with God. I mean, how often, take a minute and think about that seriously, are you separating or disconnecting from what is true, what is good, what is life giving. Not because you were triggered or the moment, but because ultimately beneath all that, maybe you or I are believing a lie. So we got to kind of do a reframe, a reset, if you will. So when you find yourself, if I find myself in that situation, right? If I'm anxious instead of peaceful, if I'm frustrated or angry instead of joyful, or maybe I'm really afraid of something instead of walking courageously or speaking courageously. It's not the situation, right? I know it's easy to think, well, it's the situation. I get it. I've been there, but it's not the situation. It's separation from what is true. That is it. And it's like, wow, this is so simple. So it means no matter what happens, circumstantially, good or bad, indifferent, if it goes my way or it doesn't go, how I look at it's going to be based upon my ability to stay in alignment with what is true and not believe anything else, which would essentially just be false or a lie, which then disconnects me again. And I'm going to say it from what is true or truth, good and life giving. I want to be connected to a life giving source. I don't know about you. Okay. So here's the good news though, right? And here's the truth I think is important for us to remember. We all battle this. None of us have not had to battle this before. Everybody battles this in some form or fashion. And I think we do every single day. I think we go into separation and we get back to the truth in moments. And it's because we're not realizing how much we're actually believing a lie about something. It could be small, big. It's not relevant to try to measure it. It's either true or it's not. And if I'm disconnecting, right, I'm no longer in a life giving place in my own mind. Okay. But the goal, okay, the goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't that we become perfect in this and we just like, it's like those boards, if you've ever seen them in workplaces and environments, like we've gone 100 days with no injuries. I feel like that's what we do sometimes. We think, I've gone, for me, I'm like, I've gone 5 minutes without separating. That would be amazing. Or, it's like, I've gone 10 days and I haven't separated or disconnected from the life. Listen, that's not what God is saying. But he is saying and reminding us that there is truth and there is a lie. And when we believe the lie, we are disconnecting from what is true. Okay. So the goal isn't, again, perfection. The goal is realignment. It's getting back in alignment with or connected to the source. So let me give you this really quick. Let me give you the one principle, the one practice and movement I mapped out for this because I think it could be helpful. And I love this concept, not just because I came up with the idea necessarily, but I think it helps provide a very practical, tool and resource for us to stay aligned, to stay connected to the source. And so the principle for us this week would be to align the heart, right? Is the principle is peace is found in alignment with truth. If I want peace, listen, it's not like I got to go earn it I just need to be in alignment with the truth. And I love what this verse says. I love what the Bible says. It's so powerful. It's encouraging, it's energizing. It's such a great reminder because it's true, right? And it says this in Isaiah 26:3. It says that you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you. How I would, without changing the truth, but maybe because you, right? Who's you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you. It's saying that when we keep our minds on God, when we stay connected to what is true, to truth, to Him, He will keep us in not just marginal, mediocre, you know, fleeting peace. No, it says He'll keep us in perfect peace. And perfect peace is the kind of peace that passes all understanding. It's beyond our human reasoning and logic and comprehension. But that's the kind of peace I want. If there is a peace out there, I want a perfect peace. And so we can have that peace simply by keeping our minds fixed on Him. It's that simple, right? Peace doesn't come from controlling our circumstances. Trust me on this. Man, I am an expert at wanting to control a circumstance, and I know that that doesn't work. But peace simply comes from staying connected to the truth. Okay. So the principle in that, again, just to remind us, the principle is peace is found in alignment with the truth. So how do we practice that? How do we actually practice it so we can strengthen our marriage, our home, our family? Well, we do that by recognizing the tension. Okay. What do I mean by that? For example, when I was sharing with my wife in the email and her explain, right? I use the word tension. I like that way better than triggered. Something is like, it just pokes and prods you a little bit wrong. It's the practice is the ability to recognize that and then be able to take a moment, right? Which is hard because in the midst of the moment, right, where just everything's clicking. The lie is, blasting. You feel that little twinge. You're like, ugh, this makes me feel not good. Now I'm upset, maybe, right? And we're drifting already. But if I can recognize and be like, wait a minute, and ask this question, right? Jamie Winship teaches this stuff and I love it, but it's just, what is true right now? What is the truth right now? Not what do I feel, not what do I assume, because that just leads me down the path of disconnecting. And it's what is true? That's all I'm asking. Wait, what is true right now? Right. And for me and my wife in that specific situation, what was true is she is for me, not against me. She's wanting to communicate. She's wanting to co-labor with me in a project we're working towards and on. She's wanting to communicate in advance. She's trying to let me know. But how she was letting me know, right? Because she was without me knowing on the front end and us talking through it, realizing, oh, you're also communicating from a disconnected place. But because we caught it, we're able to work through it. We're able to discover what is true and then let each other know. We identify the lie. Okay. And we're able to move forward. But it's being able to recognize that tension and say, wait a minute, what is true right now? What is true of this situation, or what is true of what is being said? What is true of the person who is saying it? And if you want to even go deeper, and if you want to even go beyond that, then ask this question. What is the lie that I'm actually believing right now? What is the lie? And this is so important because once you expose the lie, truth has room to restore. And it's so important. Okay. So the practice is practice recognizing that tension or the trigger and then stop and ask that question. What is true right now? And once you figure that out, hey, identify what is the lie I'm believing right now about this circumstance or situation, whatever it may be. And when you do that, again, truth will begin to restore it. And so how do we walk this out? How do we not just talk about it? How do we actually activate this in our everyday life? Well, we do that through the movement of we realign through one intentional step every single day, right? That can look different for so many of us. But I think one of the best things we can do is actually learn how to speak truth out loud. Okay. Instead of reacting, okay, speak truth. So when I feel the tension from something and I think, I'm so frustrated. I feel like I always have to do this alone. Stop. Identify that. Wait a minute. It's not why do I feel this way? It's what is the truth? The truth is, Sam, you are not alone. God is for you. Who could be against you? He goes before you. He never leaves you or forsakes you. He's called you. You are equipped. You have everything right. And you just start going over that. Not because you're trying to be perfect and sound religious and a good little Christian. No, it's because you actually are speaking the truth. You are going from a place of separation to a place of being connected to what is true, what is good, and what is life giving. Okay. We can do this through, yes, getting into scripture. Before we form a conclusion, hey, let's seek what the truth of God's word says about this. I'm going to choose patience instead of frustration. I know, very hard, trust me, but that's why it is a principle that we practice so we can begin to take action on it in our everyday lives. And it's not about perfection, it is about alignment. It is about coming back into alignment with what is true. So let me kind of land the plane for us because separation may be the battle, but alignment is always available. And when we return to what is true, what God's original intent is for our lives, right? Our experience, right? We experience something then that the world just doesn't even get to experience. And that's what I said earlier. It's the peace that passes all understanding. It's the perfect peace for those of us who keep our minds fixed on Him, who stay connected to the truth. You guys, I appreciate you sticking in there today. And I hope this encourages you as much as I'm encouraged by this, the truth of how easily we can separate ourselves and we can become disconnected from the truth, from what is good, what is life giving. And listen, if this spoke to you, if this was an encouragement to you, do me a favor. Hey, share it with a friend. And as always, if you have not, left a review or a comment, do that. It helps us just get our reach a little further. And this every week, just know this, I put the one principle, the one practice, and the movement in a smaller format, a simple just for you every single Monday directly to your inbox. So if you would like to do that, click the link in the show notes below and sign up for the free KFM 111 weekly reset so you can begin to reignite your marriage, realign your home and your family. You guys, I appreciate you. Sam Velasquez with the Kingdom Family Movement podcast. We will see you on the other side. Peace.